Every musician should have an analog synth. Here's why. First, let's talk about the most obvious and often the most overlooked thing about a hardware synth. The tangible experience of turning the knobs and physically interacting with the instrument. You see, when you play a hardware synth, unlike a virtual synth that are so common nowadays, you have an immediate feedback that you don't quite get as you watch and hear the sound change. There's this real-time connection that you don't get when you're playing with a virtual instrument. The more you interact with it, the more you get to watch as the sound evolves right at your fingertips. And overall, I just think the ability to do all of this in real time creates so much more of an immersive experience. Another thing to think about with synths such as this one, the Korg Minilog XD, you get a look at this oscilloscope which shows you the actual sound wave that you are creating. For me, who's still learning sound creation and sound design, this has been such a helpful tool as I can watch the sound wave change. The second thing about analog synths is their sound quality. There's something about the analog or hardware synth that has this warmth and character that, for me, I often am unable to find in the virtual versions of those instruments. While there are many great virtual synths, for me, I personally just enjoy the sound better on an analog synth. The way the sound behaves, the way it evolves as you play it. There's something that feels a little bit different than when you're playing with a synth that is on your computer. You know, on a computer or a virtual synth, oftentimes, for me at least, I'm having to adjust in between takes to find the sound that I like. Where on a hardware or analog synth, I'm able to adjust and find that sound while I'm playing the instrument, which to me is really special. I think a good comparison of the virtual versus analog synth would be streaming services versus listening to music on a record. Streaming services, you're going to get very clean versions of that sound, and it still sounds good, and it's good music nonetheless. But there's something about listening to music on a vinyl record that it's hard to beat, it's hard to replicate, and to me that's what it feels like playing an analog synth. You just get those sounds that are so hard to replicate. Another reason to own a synth, I think, is the rich history that they have behind it. Revolutionized in the 1960s by the Moog, analog synthesizers quickly became part of many genres of music, being used by bands like the Beatles, Pink Floyd, and many others. In the 70s, synths quickly became a part of music culture forever. Fast forward a little bit further to the 80s, and you start getting much more electronic music with these synths, often portrayed in shows such as Stranger Things. But even genres such as jazz and classical music often use these synths to either create textures or other types of sounds that they use within their mixes. But I think by owning one, you get to kind of understand how a lot of this music came about. And finally, which honestly I think is probably the most important thing for me at least, synths are just fun. You know, for me as a musician, it's not my career. I'm doing it because I love it, and I have fun with it, and synths are something that I really enjoy. There's something about the warm sounds and being able to just kind of understand a little bit better how sound changes as you change all the different parameters on it that I just really enjoy. I think it's a great learning experience for any musician, whether you're a beginner or if you are a professional musician. I'm sure you know that synths are a very helpful tool to create the music that we all know and love. Because of all this, I think that you should get one. There's a lot of different options out there. Me, I like my Korg Mini Log. I think just getting your hands on one of these instruments and being able to learn and see how sound gets created from something as simple as a saw wave and adjusting that along the way, there's something that's really special about it. And that's why I think every musician should own one synth. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you soon.